Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we're going to talk about dyno safety. So not just for you watching, but for people that operate the dynos. Most dyno areas are going to have somewhere that you can observe. Ours is separated. We have a little bit of mesh up there just to try to catch big things, keep people from touching the windows. We'll get to that in a second. But we're going to start with common sense stuff more than safety. Of course, I guess if you push the issue, it could be your personal safety. Things like we have race gas for a car on the dyno. Don't keep it in the same room. Pretty normal, just in case of fire, keep it away. A lot of dyno places are going to store cars. We're no different. We have the Evo 10, Evo 8, the 1G. So we're all car guys. This is kind of a car show, so you get to see something. Plus we needed to be able to store them. But if you want the hood popped to see things, ask. You want to sit in the car? Maybe ask. But don't presume that it's something that you get to do just because you're at a dyno facility. Ask whoever owns the cars or is operating. For instance, if you went and pulled this hood up, this interferes here. You could end up breaking the hood, messing the pipe up. So, ask. Normal stuff. Our dyno room has 2 doors because of however this was laid out before we moved in here. Don't go through them if the car is operating, because as we're going to get to, you're going to see why. You can't really tell anymore, but this says no touch. We don't want the windows open for the same reason we don't want the doors open. We have really good fans, but as the car is running, it's going to create a bunch of exhaust. So if you open those, you change the dynamic of how the exhaust is flowing out through the fans, because as you can see, we have a bank of fans in the front, and on the other side of this dynomat, we have a giant greenhouse fan to extract everything, or otherwise you inhale this. So a lot of places are going to be very, very similar. Don't open doors and get exhaust in the face. One full breath of exhaust is as bad as 10 cigarettes at once, is what I was told by a doctor. So keep that in mind. Okay, so that's safety. Starting off, just observing. We're going to go through here into the dyno room. Now, I do invite our customers to film, but if you were to see where I'm standing right now, I am next to a doorway. I am next to all the fans. There's the door, fans. I am probably 8 feet away from the car. I'm going to get as much fresh air as possible. It is loud in here. It's windy. You can see the opening in the roof for the extractor fan. But there's still a couple things to keep in mind. The car is on the dyno. There is always a possibility of something failing. If you're forward of the car, and this is a rear-wheel drive car, so things are a little bit different, but if you are forward enough of the car and have air pushing the other way, chances are you're not going to get hit by coolant. Hopefully you're not going to get hit by a turbo, not by hot oil or anything like that, where if you're behind the car or to the side of the car, anything could happen. And as far as coolant goes, those stains on the wall are from a certain car losing a head gasket. But you can see where it stops. It stops at the doorway. So this particular car was making 2,000 horse at that time and sprayed the wall, but this spot was safe. So if you wanted to observe, you could. Now, we're going to talk about the drums. We're going to go to the dyno operation here for a little while. We have fresh, re-knurled drums, but a lot of places the knurling is gone, and these are really smooth, so the tire can slide, especially because most of y'all don't know how to adjust your e-brake. And I've had cars slide backwards. One time, it could have been really, really bad. I was reaching in and around, the car started to slide, and my arm got pinched under a tire. Fortunately, this trough is just deep enough that it pinched my arm, I could scream for help, and I was good. But don't stick your appendages next to the drums, especially if the car is moving. Actually, you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. Notice the car is fully strapped. It's not going anywhere. But you can kind of see what I'm talking about. My arm fit in there. Fortunately for me, it didn't do any damage. But people have gotten extremely hurt and in some cases dead because they didn't respect the dyno. If you're an operator and the drums are moving, you better be in the car. If you need to adjust something, you hit the dyno brakes, you get out. Now this is common sense. And as my grandpa used to say, common sense isn't too common, but it should be. You shouldn't have to worry about dying. And there's the exhaust tip. So standing over there in that corner, bad idea. And to answer the questions, those are all empty. They have no fuel on them. They've been drained for several days. So that's why I'm not particularly concerned with those. There's no vapor in them. There is literally no fluids. So anyway, where I keep stuff that I do have to fill. We can see we got straps. In this particular car, I needed some downforce. So this is anchored to the ground. It goes up. And I strap every car the same. A minimum of 4 straps in the back. Because especially for a rear wheel drive, it's trying to climb the drum. It wants up and over. All wheel drive is the same. Truly, I guess they're all the same. But if it's on the back side of the drum and all of these straps were to break, it's not going to be able to get up and over the drum and head through the opposing wall. An all-wheel drive car, if it was to have straps break, is balanced on the top. And because the drum is turning the opposite direction of the wheel, it throws it backwards. So, one more reason to not be behind the car. Stay in front. That being said, you don't want to be directly in front either, because you might be able to see it, but for years and years, there was the outline of a boot print, I think right here, where we had a strap break, and it flipped the operator of the quad up and over all of this and at the wall, and he hit the wall with his feet because we didn't have enough straps and the one broke. So something to keep in mind. So moving back to dyno operations, make sure you have as much fresh air as possible, both for the car and for your sake. We don't need to be inhaling exhaust. That's dangerous. Now, if you look right there, there's a woodpecker hole in the wall. What that's from is from a car that had the exhaust in the bumper and it lost a turbo. The turbo hit the TV. And this is a couple years ago. Hit the TV, hit the next light down, and drilled through the wall. Fortunately, again, operator is in the car, where he should be, driving, right? Nobody was standing on the deck. Doesn't take much to kill people. We've probably all seen the video of the one guy leaning over the car. It was a Honda. He leans over the car, the turbo lets go, it hits him in the face. And unfortunately, that was lights out. Don't be that guy. Don't be those dyno operators. Don't let people next to your dyno while it's moving. If they have a question, turn the car off. Make sure the dyno brakes are set. You don't have to spin the dyno non-stop. You can take 30 seconds to answer a question, but do so safely. And if you're the person asking the question, think about what you're seeing. That being said, also fire extinguishers. If you're a person watching, ask if there's fire extinguishers at the dyno that you're going to. You never know what can happen. Fuel pressure regulators can fall off, all sorts of crazy stuff. So just be smart about it. And all of this is because of this burn. So if you're reaching across things, don't be stupid and stick your arm on a turbo. Or in my case, it was a downpipe and muffler assembly. But if you need to work on the car, be mindful of all times. Don't take your eyes off of what you're working on. Because when you're complacent, that's when accidents happen. That's how I got burnt. Things like this, though, there's nothing to catch that turbine or compressor wheel. I do know the difference. So if this turbo was to blow up, that compressor wheel could go forward. It does happen. We had a GTR lose tires because of that. And even at speed, the compressor wheel still went forward. and probably parts of the turbine wheel. But anyway, maybe if you're a domestic guy, you know all about these things. If you are having to work on, let's say, setting base timing, we had the video the other day about doing base timing on a car, and you have a mechanical fan, you cannot have loose clothing next to it. It will pull you in. This is a clutch fan, so it's a little bit different, but if you had like an old Chevelle or something, you're gonna have problems. Don't be that guy. Make sure your fingers and all your appendages are away from belts. Rule of thumb that we were taught in auto class is do not have any part of your body closer than a foot to moving components on an engine if you have to. And honestly, the only time that I think that you would be doing that would be setting timing, because we do fuel injected cars these days, so we're not moving a distributor. We're doing that in the computer. We're not changing jets. Obviously the car would be off anyway, but anything we're gonna do with the car off, or should do with the car off. Now, it's really common, people want to see, what did my car make? What did my car make? So our solution is we have two TVs. Well, we also have this TV on the actual dyno screen. So they want to rush in and they want to see how much power it makes. So our solution, this is the one that I look at, is we have another TV in the observation area back over there, basically between the door and that window. Keep them away from it. They don't need to be out here. We're all risking life and limb and lung health. So be smart as a dyno operator and a business owner. Keep people away from potential hazards. You're going to save yourself a lot of money. Other things that you might not think about as a dyno operator, fender gaps. This one happens to miss, but in the age of stance cars and people with no money, it's really common to have inch spacers on cars, and when you go to pull them down, they rub. You can cut the sidewalls out of cars, you can take out paint. You know, that's probably the least dangerous. But also know what tires you have on the car. Are they 85 years old? Are they dry rotted? Do you have drag radials or slicks and you're trying to run them on a drum? Sometimes you can get away with that, because if the drum is smooth enough, a slick actually does hook without shredding. But dedicated dyno tires, probably a good investment. At least checking them, make sure they don't have exposed cords. Over the years, we've had a couple explode. And for those that don't know, this is the dyno brake. It uses a air brake, like a semi, giant air can and 90 pounds of air pressure. So the drums can stop pretty fast. In this particular case, we also have the Lynx belt. Some other dynos have a similar arrangement so that you can do all-wheel drive, either fully independent or like it's on the road. We have these giant load control pods. These are electrical retarders. They make 1,800 foot-pounds, as I recall. So now you have a lot of electricity moving around. I think these operate at 480 volt and have conversion, but then they're plumbed into, or wired, I guess, plugged into 220. So we have a lot of potential hazards. One thing that we do that is going to save the customer and you headaches, potentially money, do a pre-dyno. Sometimes you can have cars with oil leaks. I had a 3000 GT that had a leaky oil drain on the back turbo that it's hard to see in those because it's a transverse V6, and the oil drain hit the exhaust and caught on fire. But if we had had a pre-dyno operation in place at the time, we probably would have avoided that. So, you know, think smart. That's what this video is about. Don't be this guy. Don't get burned because you stopped thinking about safety. Constantly think about safety. In the event of a fire, what are you going to do? What's your plan? I can tell you from experience, you're going to panic. But after the panic, hopefully that only takes a couple tenths of seconds. You need to run for that guy. If it's really bad, obviously, it's unfortunate, but get out of the building. I know that when I had a car catch on fire the last time, I had a bunch going through my mind. I have these fans on, but do I turn the fans off and fill it with smoke and not be able to see how to get out? Do I open the door and then have the fans and it feeds the flames? It's things that I never thought about till I was in the situation, but have a plan. I'm not going to tell you you need to do a kindergarten fire drill, but know how you're going to get out of the building. Know where all your exits are, because you never know what can happen. Some people bring you cars that are just wonderful, and then sometimes accidents happen. I mean, that car there makes 1,300 something horsepower. This one made 1,405. Obviously, you could have a fuel line rupture. You could have the engine fail. And these two are on methanol. You can't even see the flames on methanol. Obviously, Jeff's old car was on methanol too, but through the auto it made 1,100, which was honestly probably 14, because he had a bigger turbo even. Then sometimes you run into race cars that have lipos. Oh, oops. One more. You have lipos. How do you store your lipos? Do you make sure that they're discharged? Storage charge is what they call it. You have it in something that hopefully will contain them in case there is a problem. Okay, guys. Well, I don't want to be too boring. It's already a 17-minute video. I hope you're all doing well. I hope that you've been able to get to the track, have some fun, go to the dyno, see what is going on in the world. Be smart. Don't get hurt. Don't be me. If this is content that you like, please consider subscribing. If it's content that you think your friends might like, please consider sharing it with them. And if you want notified of any time new content is uploaded, just hit the bell icon at the bottom, and that will let you know that, hey, this ding dong uploaded a new video you might want to go watch. I'm not sure why I'm filming a door. We got our Infinity factory training and Motec and our Nitra stuff. Anyway, take care, guys. Talk to you later.